Hello, everyone. Today we have a scientist who is not necessarily a biologist. He's an engineer. Andrey Churkin. Churkin is a Ph.D. in electrical engineering from Skoltech, Moscow. He is also a research associate in artificial intelligence and analytics for electricity markets at the Imperial College London. He is also a proud owner of a YouTube channel called Chu Science, or CHU Science. And I first became aware of him from his video called Declining Value of Papers in Academia. I thought it's a very long form video talking about all of the issues we might have in the academic publishing nowadays. And I think he made a couple of very interesting points there. And that's how we struck a conversation and, got to talk on this podcast. So Andrey, welcome to the show, and tell me more about yourself. How did you come to do science? How did you come to do what you do today and have a career in engineering?
Hi, Kenan. Hi, everyone. Yeah, my name is Andrey. I'm currently research associate at Imperial College London. This position is actually sometimes called postdoctoral research associate, so postdoc. And I now have a contract for 2 years. I'm studying electricity markets, developing different optimization models for power systems. And before joining Imperial College, I was doing another postdoc for 3 years at the University of Manchester. And before that, I did my Ph.D. in Skoltech, Moscow. So we can say that I am in academia for about 7-8 years, mainly working in electrical engineering. And I can say that my job is kind of applied mathematics and applied data science, because we are trying to solve very applied problems in power systems and electricity markets. So this is kind of a brief introduction, and I'm still considered a young career researcher. 7 or 8 years in academia is not too much,
You're just that was always fascinating to me. You finish your PhD, you do a postdoctoral training, and then you get to start playing the game. So how did you get to be interested in the field of engineering? Tell me about your beginnings in academia.
Yeah, I think this story is very random. So I did my bachelor's also in electrical engineering. The University of Power Engineering was close to my home in Moscow, and my parents told me when I was in school, think about that university. And I was thinking about it, and I joined it, got my diplomas with honor, and then I thought maybe I want to do something interesting, not just joining company. Actually, after my master's, I worked for one IT company for 6 months, and that was quite boring. We were doing basic things with some data, some Excel tables every day. And then I thought maybe I should try PhD or something else. So this story is kind of random. I don't know why I selected electrical engineering, but I think there is something interesting about this. If you think, many people don't realize, they think it's just electricity. There is transformer overhead lines, but the complexity of the system is great. And you can study so many complex things about this.
And then when you entered your PhD, how did it work that you choose what you will work on? Is that something that you got assigned, or you had to think about projects you might be working on before your PhD? Tell me about that.
Yeah, in my case, I was completely supervised. So I had 2 supervisors, one of them very famous professor in the field. And he was at the beginning telling me what to do, what to read, what will be the project. My first project was cross-border power interconnections between countries. We were studying cases like how to build new lines between Russia and China, Russia and Japan. So I was happy about that, and I was doing that. Then another supervisor, co-supervisor, came, and he said, you should try these optimization models, you should try game theory. Again, I was happy, had to follow the advice. So in case of my PhD, I was following all the advices. But I know there are other cases where people know what they want to do from masters, from the very beginning of their career. They know that they want to apply this concept. No, I was just a simple student following the advice.
What was the role of these mentors? Were these mentors that, you of course you admired them and you followed their advice and you saw them as people who kind of know where to steer you. But can you tell me more about their role in your development as a scientist? What was important?
They played a huge role. I mean, yes, I respected them a lot. I admired them. So I was a student back in Moscow one advisor was a famous professor from the UK, another professor David Pozo from Spain. So they had this truly international experience. They were sharing that experience with me, and yeah, I basically wanted to be something like that to become maybe famous academics like them. And they gave me a ton of advice, from like high picture, high level advice, what academia is, what your job should be, and down to very small advice like don't repeat this mistake in the code, avoid doing these unreasonable things, don't reinvent the wheel. So yeah, I think that this PhD changed me completely. Yeah, it's really an interesting topic because me before the PhD and me after the PhD, I think two different people in terms of what I was thinking about myself and my career.
I think it's quite rare to get a supervisor who will give you the big picture. Like he will give you this high level advice about what academia is and how to write papers and what direction to go into, but then also, a person who goes down to the level of detail and tries to steer you in that direction as well. That's pretty cool that you had that. So what would you say if I focus on this big picture advice, how your life in academia should be, which direction you should go into, and so on? Could you give me a sample of a good advice they gave you?
They say, talk to people, build this networking, go to conferences, go to internships. And I did that, and it was a great experience. Of course, they were telling me publish papers, and I was happy. I was like taking these advices, trying to follow them. The problem happened later when I became a postdoc, and I realized that many of these things are kind of wrong or not fully correct, especially if we're talking about this publishing pressure. And if you follow the advice, publish a lot to become a famous academic, I mean, this is a very tricky way.
What do you mean by that?
I mean that some people literally follow this advice and they think that their whole career is just papers. So they try to publish 10 papers per year. If you don't sleep, if you just sit and write papers in LaTeX, you can publish more than 5 papers per year. And people do this, and they are not doing anything else, not communicating with others, not teaching, not doing YouTube videos, just writing papers for the sake of papers, because this is how they are taught to work in academia. And this is a very big problem, and I faced it. I'm still facing it. That's why I made that video. And yeah, the roots of this problem are very deep, so we can keep discussing this if you want.
Yeah, of course. I think this is an amazing topic that I have not discussed in depth so far with any of my podcast guests. We've kind of mentioned it, publish or perish. We need to publish. Papers are everything. We know this kind of as a mantra, but we never really went deep into it. Recently I read this news about a scientist, I think from Spain, I believe, who published a paper basically every 2 days. I think he published like 170 papers last year. And people were saying how, of course, he has not even read them. He's just being a co-author on these many collaborations, right? I know it's not good, but I'm not sure what I think about how to deal with that on a systemic level, because the pressure is high. You are in the end measured by the numbers, how much you have published and how much all of that is cited.
Yeah, these cases, they happen everywhere, not only in Spain, not only in your field. In my field, electrical engineering, we had a huge scandal 2 years ago, maybe. I will not be telling any names, but basically the person published more than 100 papers per year. And for our topic, it's simply impossible. I mean, you need to do some experiments. You need to verify some models. How can you publish 100 papers? And also, some professors say that there is a reasonable limit, maybe like 20 papers per year. I mean, if you have a huge team, you have like 10 postdocs plus 10 PhD students, maybe you can publish 20 papers per year. That's what they say. But when you go above 100 papers per year, that's absolutely crazy. But people do this, and there was like an investigation how they do this. So to achieve this level of publication, you really need to hunt others for publishing. You need to hunt, poor students in other countries, I don't want to say anything, but you need to suggest a little bit of money, a little bit of support to anyone any poor student who is willing to accept that. And for that, the student will put your name in the paper. So on purpose, you're creating this machine of publications. And then a few years, this machine works, accelerates, and then you can get 100 papers per year. And there was a scandal, and the academic in my field was kind of banned. He became persona non grata. But this is just one case. There are so many other cases, and we don't have time to punish all of these cases. Don't have time to investigate. So sometimes we hear that a scandal is happening here and there, but I think it's not enough. Yeah. Continuing your thoughts, maybe there should be some international body or international rules. And if people are playing these games so hard, like 50, 100 publications per year, Elsevier, or again, this body should release a note that you played too much, you violated ethics, and you are banned from publishing for 2 years, something like that. So this is damaging your career, and you cannot publish for 2 more years. No one will, talk to you for 2 more years. I think that will be a good case if we have this like international database of people who violated ethics so much.
To me, an interesting point there is, when does that become a scandal? Right? You mentioned it became a big scandal. This person was publishing 100 papers per year. You mean, where is the line where you can say, that person's publishing a little too much? And to me, it seems like the whole system. So there's the publishers, there's the academics, there's the universities as bodies who are trying to rank in these rankings. Nobody's really incentivized to publish that. So to me, it feels, because everybody's, publishers are trying to get more papers and get more money from the papers. Academics are trying to publish more. Universities are, as bodies, trying to publish more also to get better rankings or whatever other incentives they might have. And when you say it's a scandal, to me, it seems it only becomes a scandal when we discover not the number of papers that somebody's publishing, but we just found out this person is extorting students, and now it became a scandal, right? But to me, it seems there's no real incentive for anyone to make a body like that, like the one that you mentioned. Do you think anybody is incentivized to actually try to set these boundaries that could actually have sufficient motivation to do it?
You mean, are people incentivized to publish 100 papers?
No, to me, I think they are. People are incentivized to publish as much as they can. And I think universities as well. And journals love that. They just can make more journals, make them more niched, and make more special editions, and keep the wheel going. So, but what you're saying is, it would be cool to have some kind of body that would regulate, that would say, you're doing this a little too much. Now you got to either stop or we punish you in some way. I don't see that that can actually happen. It doesn't. I don't see from who will be motivated to set that up. Do you see a realistic possibility for that to happen? Back to reality. Do you think there's anything that might realistically happen in the next 3, 4, 5, 10 years that could actually put the system under a little bit of constraint for publishing?
I think if something will happen, only small steps, like that maybe in some journal or in some university, they will say that we don't care about number of papers, and yes, we know that that person published a lot. We don't appreciate that. We need new editor. Our new editor will have less publications, but like more. He will be more trustworthy, something like that.
But if we go realistically back, are there any practices being done right now, or that could be done, that could result in some practical improvement in the whole system in the next couple of years? So, for example, I'll give you one example that I really liked. I really like following new practices in publishing that are really good. So one good one was, a couple of journals started posting their peer review as transparent, right? So when you go to like a Nature paper now, many of them have an open peer review file, and you can see the whole peer review process, what the peer reviewer said, what the editor said, how they responded to each other, how they went back and forth. I think that's nice. That's a nice practice. It's a nice transparency practice.
Sounds really nice. We don't have it.
Yeah. So that's one. A couple other journals do it. I think eLife is doing it. It's a more life sciences journal. But you read the paper and now you get to go through the whole process and you can see all of the flaws in the paper that were noticed by other experts. Even though the paper got published, now you get to see a little bit behind the curtain. So I think that's really cool. And that also makes the peer reviewers do a better job at reviewing the paper if they know that their review will be transparent and out there, published together with the paper. So that's one good practice. Are there any other practices that you're aware of generally in the publishing area that might be positive, that might give us some hope?
Yeah, so what you said is an interesting example. I think I saw a discussion of this, how to say, open peer review in my electrical engineering community. Some people say that that's a great idea, but I heard others saying that, we don't have time reading papers. Forget about reading reviews. So why should we publish reviews? No one will read them. It's like additional job. And yeah, people don't have time for that. But maybe it's a good idea. Yeah, it can improve the quality of reviews, I believe. When you attack someone's paper, and then your name is there, I mean, you will behave in a different way. You will give more thoughtful comments why you are rejecting, because all of that will backfire if you do the wrong thing. Yeah, and about other practices, I don't think we can see academia changing like completely in the next 35 years. Maybe with just small steps. I think some universities and some journals, they start appreciating this this problem and these solutions, that the quality of the number of papers is not the most important thing. So sometimes they mention that they are hiring new editor with just like they need to hire the editor. They need only 5 or top 10 papers. They don't need 100 papers. So they are kind of trying to find, better, more motivated people, but with less publications. And some universities can say this as well while advertising positions, mentioning that we don't need hundreds of papers. We need, please show us top 5 of your papers, the best ones, and then we discuss your offer, your position. But don't show us your CV with 100 papers, something like that. And I wanted to tell you one small story about these publishing scandals, people publishing more than hundreds per year. I recently spoke with one professor at Imperial, and he knows another professor who publishes more than 100. And of course, when you speak unofficially, you share your opinions, discuss all of this, and it's an interesting topic. And I had a question I asked about that person. Do you think he believes he's a good scientist, he's a good professor, or he realizes, like, deeply inside that he's cheating? And my professor told me that that professor with hundreds of papers believes that he's a good scientist. So this is a very interesting point, I think. No one thinks that, oh, I'm like criminal, I'm doing these bad things, but okay, let's keep it in secret. People publishing hundreds of papers, sometimes they believe that this is the way academia should work, and they believe they're true scientists, I think maybe this is also a component of this issue.
So this professor believes he's a good scientist, and he believes he produces high quality science regardless of this egregious number. That's
I didn't talk, but what I realized, some of such professors, they don't feel guilty. They think that they are doing a great job. They're working hard, collaborating a lot, publishing 100 papers per year, and they are proud of their career, I guess.
Some of these numbers sound so crazy. I mean, when I think about what mental capacity for me it takes to read one paper, like if I really want to understand a new paper that came out of my field that I am reading about every day, sometimes it takes me a week to process a paper properly. Like if it's a paper that is published in a journal like Cell, which is very extensive, it can be like 60 pages of experiments and supplements and trying to understand everything and really critically evaluate. And by the time all of that information is really, really processed, it takes a lot of time for me. And I'm thinking, reading 100 papers, like really reading them critically, is a huge endeavor. Now to think that somebody is publishing 100 papers. It's really hard to believe that, I mean, of course, you have these collaboration and all that, but it's hard to believe that they even read any of those. But yeah, I do agree. They probably don't feel as guilty as as we would like.
Yeah.
I mean, I know
Yeah.
I know several other instances of like how this can be achieved. Like many small papers. What people have done a little bit. I know from this computational field in biology is that you can just adjust your neural network to predict something else on just another database, and you have 100 papers. Look, our neural network is now predicting this, and now it's predicting this, and now it's predicting
Yeah.
this, and that's like 17 papers in 1
This is
year.
a very good point. I think we have now a new science which we can call machine learning for something. And
Yeah.
this happens in my field a lot. I see every day papers, let's say, how they are called usually, data-driven approach to something. And this is
novel
like
methods
paper number. Yeah, physics-informed, data-driven, neural network-based prediction method for power systems. And you read this paper, and this is like, I get manuscript number 1000 about this topic, but they have a model. Yeah, we live in an interesting era. If you have like interesting model, machine learning predicting approach to, you apply it to different data sets. So you said you can publish papers about these new results. You are building beautiful figures, like some curves, some results, money savings that you can achieve for each of these cases. And yeah, a new paper every month. This is possible, and people are doing this. And I don't want to do this. Like, this is like an existential problem that I have, if I want to become a cool, trendy researcher, this is what I should do. I should train my own neural network, add some, caveats, something interesting to it, and publish a new manuscript every month. But I just don't want to do this because I feel that this is wrong. Yeah.
Do you think there is still space for academics who are solely focusing on quality rather than quantity?
I think yes. I mean, especially when you discuss this problem with academics who are not playing the publishing game, it seems, yes, like they say they don't need papers, they need talented students with new ideas, they need like ideas to change the world. So there is some space, but you need to find a good team. Like, again, imagine you're a young student and you are joining a team where a professor has 30 PhDs, publishing hundreds papers per year, and you have to play this game because you are in this lab. So yeah, if you're unlucky, there is no space for high quality papers. If you're lucky and you join a good team, yeah, you can publish one journal paper per year. That would be enough.
Take me to so you mentioned you have this existential crisis a little bit. Like, so you're pushed to play the game, but you refuse to do it. You want to focus on quality. And I remember from one of your videos, I'm not sure, is it the declining value of science of papers in academia video or some other, but you mentioned, you were going through one of your papers where you're saying, look, I worked on this figure for days and days and days, and I was trying to make it really high quality and useful for other people. And look, now the paper has been cited 4 times. It's been, I spent all this time and all of this. And perhaps the paper was not read because there's just too much, call it junk out there, right? Too many of these other papers that are clouding the vision, maybe. How do you survive that existential crisis in your mind? What do you tell yourself when you're going through those, let's say, low moments?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I don't know, like, I don't think I have some recipe how to survive a crisis in academia, but I think I was under this pressure, under these bad emotions. I was stressed, and this saying that bad times produce strong people or something like that. So I think I was under these problems. Yeah, I was suffering. And after some time, I felt that I became stronger. I am not sensitive so much. So now I am not like very disappointed that no one reads my paper. You kind of accept it. And yeah, I think this is just an experience that unfortunately academics nowadays have to go through. They have to realize that, yeah, you can work on your PhD for years, write these 200 pages with beautiful figures, and no one will open your PDF file. No one, if someone accidentally opens your PDF file, they will just scroll and close it. So yeah, very little chance that your paper or your PhD thesis will make an impact, fortunately. And in some sense, maybe this video helped me, because I had this problem that I couldn't express myself. I couldn't see any impact from my papers, from my work on the project. And yeah, I had this idea that maybe I will be making some YouTube videos, recording some lectures. And when I was depressed about the papers, I thought, okay, let's make a video about that. And actually, I think this is like the strangest thing that happened to me, because I don't like this video very much. I think it's not good quality. If you check it again, I'm sitting in some room. I look very depressed. I'm not smiling and just complaining about academia. So yeah, not the greatest video. And for many months, it had like 500 views. And then I noticed that something happens on my YouTube, that I get many notifications. And after a few more months, it got 200,000 views. And I got many emails from people, many comments. And I realized that I did something important, because yeah, people are basically saying that they experience similar issues. You contacted me. So it's such an interesting, unusual thing that happened to me, that I was depressed. I decided to make a video about my problems, and it's fired. It's interesting.
I think it couldn't be more far from the truth that it was not a good video. I think it was an amazing video, actually. And maybe you look back at it and think, I was so depressed, I'm just sitting in some basic room. But I think that's exactly what resonates, right? Like, all of us are aware of this, and we are all thinking about this. If we are trying to become professors, we're thinking, damn, I think I might have to start playing this game. And then we're at this existential crisis that you find yourself in. Also in some basic room, ruminating about these whole same problems. I'm trying to make an impact, and probably nobody's ever going to read it. And these are all
May I
the
tell
reasons
you?
why that is happening. Yeah.
Yeah, may I tell you that, I made this video not because I was like, not in a good mood, again, depressed about papers. I made this video about 1 year after I started my postdoc. And during this 1 year, I was talking to all other people at the University of Manchester, in other universities. I mean, to young researchers, PhD students. All of them are very depressed about papers. And I think, am I stupid? Like, I'm depressed. They are depressed. Very few people enjoy writing papers, especially like 3-4 papers per year. And still, this seems to be the only way of accelerating your academic career. And yeah, I thought, like, like this feeling that the system is a little bit broken and you should do something. You should like leave or try to improve it. And also an interesting statistics is that I think more than 95% of all postdocs leave, because there is no place for them in academia. There are not enough positions. And yeah, most of my colleagues with whom I worked at Uni of Manchester, they already left there in the industry. I think 3 or 4 people I worked with closely, they joined energy companies, energy consulting, National Grid, ESO here in the UK, because they don't think like, they don't see themselves like publishing the whole life and doing these research projects and fighting for grants, for money. And they think, okay, I did enough. I got my PhD. I did my postdoc for a few years. Let's go for normal industrial job. And this is kind of a reality of academia that I discovered, that, yeah, we have many students, then PhD students, then some of them go for postdoc. And actually, very few postdocs stay in academia. And many of them don't like publishing papers. So yeah, the question is, what should we publish so many papers, and is the system working correctly? And maybe, one more thing that I wanted to mention. Do you know YouTube channel by Andy Stapleton, another famous YouTuber?
I do.
Talking about academia.
I do, actually. Mm-hmm.
I think back then, when I made my video, he partially inspired me, because he was also making videos complaining about academia, but he's lucky he already left. And he told his story that he was a postdoc in Australia. Then the contract, there is no job security. You have contracts for 1 year, for 2 years. So his contract ended and he wanted to work more. So he got another contract for 2 years. and then another contract, and then he realized that he is like in this trap, in this loop. He was already not a very young researcher, just doing this strange job, and he left. And I was like thinking, oh, I'm doing the same thing. I'm just in the same loop, in the same trap. I'm still in this loop, I'm still taking these 2 years postdoc contracts just to be in academia, just to keep developing my skills, my knowledge, keep publishing. So many things are quite strange about academic career.
When all of that is taken into account and you get, let's say, an email from a 22-year-old who's just very excited about doing a PhD and wants to become a professor one day.
I get such emails.
What do you tell those people? Would you recommend
I tell them that PhD and even postdoc for a few years is a great opportunity, especially if you want to travel. Many people use this, to travel to different countries, to stay there. This is still a great opportunity, but I warn them that they should do their research and know about their potential professors, their teams, to speak with their potential supervisors, to try to feel if they like what is going on in that team or not. And yeah, doing a PhD maybe is still a great opportunity, great experience. But if you're 22 years old and you have this mindset that, oh, I will do my PhD in Germany, then I moved to the United States and I will become famous professor. No, I think at some point you will have to realize that the chances of that are very low. And maybe up to like 10, 20 years of doing that, pursuing this path, you will not even want to do it anymore, because you will be so tired of publishing papers and competing with others.
I want to go back to the general state of publishing and one other phenomenon I have noticed recently. So you mentioned there's a whole new field called machine learning in X, or I'm not sure, I don't remember how exactly you refer to it, but AI is becoming also integrated into the publishing process itself. So I know that some journals are experimenting of completely automating peer review with AI, or to automate as much as possible with AI. And I know that right now many journals are tripping with AI as well, where authors use all of these generative AIs that we have seen emerge in the last year or two to write their own papers. So just use your ChatGPT to write your introduction, and then you go ahead. That's your introduction.
Yeah.
Add some references, and that's
funny.
So there's been a couple of.
That's funny.
Yep.
We have publishing problems, publishing pressure for the last 20, 30 years. And now we have new problem which will exacerbate, the whole state. Yeah.
So recently there were a couple of pointed out scandals or minor scandals in some journals where authors would submit an image that is completely generated by Mid-Journey. They would not even edit anything. There was this very famous, it became famous in the academic world of biologists, a paper that was supposed to be a review on the germline of the mouse. And it submitted in the review this huge, this image of a rat with just a giant penis, dissected, and this completely nonsensical image. And they did not even edit the mumbo jumbo that Mid-Journey will generate as text, right? So when you produce an image with Mid-Journey, it will also give some text to it, but it's usually nonsensical text. So this somehow passed the review. And the funniest thing about it was that the reviewers' names were public, and they were contacted by other people who saw this scandal, and they were like, why didn't you review this? And they said, well, it's not our job to review images. We just review the text. So it was a very funny scandal. So I just want to get your thoughts on, sorry if that's a long-winded question. I just want to get your thoughts on how do you see this integration of generative AI into the publishing sphere play out in the next couple of years? Is it going to collapse the whole system, or can we learn to live with it and integrate it ethically?
I think this is a great challenge to academia, to the publishing system. And for now, my feeling is that it will create more problems than benefits. And I would formulate this that it will create a lot of academic noise. I mean, people can publish so much so easily simply by generating papers, many of those papers will get through review and we will have more publications. So we don't have time now to read all the papers that are being published in our fields. How can we read them and also dissect them from AI generated papers? So we will have this problem of noise. Here, maybe I want to give you a small example, not about papers, just by how AI starts like actually playing a role in our life and sometimes in a strange way. And yeah, this will have implications in publishing process as well. So I was talking with one student, exchanging emails with one student, not from the UK, and I gave some comments, and then I got an email, a reply, and the reply was kind of very professional. And also I noticed that it had 3 or 4 paragraphs, and each paragraph was addressing one of my points. Like, I appreciate your point about that. We will make sure this will be improved. I appreciate your second point. And I'm like sitting and thinking something, I have this feeling something is very strange. We had kind of normal exchange of emails, then I get this. And then it clicked that, oh, it's ChatGPT. So basically, I'm talking to ChatGPT now at this point. I provided feedback, ChatGPT replied to my feedback. And yeah, like, why should I spend time talking to ChatGPT? And the same thing, why should I spend time reading papers by ChatGPT? And people will do this. They already do this. And yeah, this creates an huge publishing noise. Maybe experienced academics like you and me can understand which paper is good, which paper is wrong. But imagine young student, again, 25 years old, just joining academia now, and they need to make a review what is going on, like machine learning in power systems. How can they do this? There are hundreds of papers plus thousands of papers with some strange AI generated context. It will be impossible to do this, and we will need some new system of selecting papers. We will need some new services of suggesting you which papers are probably trustworthy and other papers have some strange generated context and so on. Yeah, this is a very strange situation.
I want to refer back to the noise you're mentioning that is being generated. So I guess this is the level 2 of noise. Level 1 was just when people publish something that was not, let's say in my field of biology, they publish something that is not really reproducible for whatever reason. And then, other people base their papers on it. And that's kind of level 1 because it's still not so extreme. But then you have this level 2 where it's just everything is noise, or most people are noise. It seems to me that if this keeps going, at some point, most papers will just be noise generated by some kind of AI or mostly by AI. So I want to refer back to the level 1 noise, which was the reproducibility crisis, I guess, in many scientific fields that we have. My supervisor made this, and it's still not published, but he made this interesting reproducibility study in the field of, very niche field, immunology of the flies, right? You might not be aware, but immunology of the flies was quite important for the immunology of the rest of us in the 90s. Anyway, so he's one of the people who started out the whole field, and he decided, let's gather around most of the papers from the field and let's try to reproduce as many of them as possible, and then let's try to analyze, how many of them are reproducible, how many are not, from which time. What do people think about these claims that are made in these papers that are not reproducible? I just want to point out one thing.
This sounds like an impossible task.
Oh, it was a long task. I think the study is coming out, I think, this year, and I think they started it 5-6 years ago. And it was a collaboration with other scientists trying to reproduce a lot of things. So it's quite a small field. It's about 400 papers. And quite of them are easy experiments to be repeated. It's not like something complicated you have to work on for weeks and weeks and weeks. You can generate your mutant or get the mutant and test, does it die when you infect it with something, right? So just one thing I wanna mention there that stood out to me when he presented this recently. He wanted to know, for some of these claims that were later confirmed 100%, like this is not true. Like this is definitely not, this was a mistake in the 90s and now we know it's not true. It's still published somewhere like in some journal. It was never retracted, right? So he wanted to know, how do these, claims from 20 years ago, that even though they have been disproven, how do they still infect the minds of the researchers? So he asked them, this claim that you should definitely know it's not true anymore, do you believe it's true? Claim X, right? And I think some staggering number of scientists in the field, experts, right, said, yeah, that's true. So the claim that was made 25, 30 years ago and shown later to be untrue is still contaminating what people think about, this particular test or this particular claim, right? So they are still thinking it's correct because they read it in the original paper. They just never got across to this paper that is disproving it, right? So
yeah, that's crazy.
just
Imagine what will AI do in 20 years if these all fake papers, how they will impact us in 20 years,
yeah, will there be any value to any information? Like at some point, like miners of true information will be like the most valuable job, maybe. I don't know. Okay, so I just wanted to refer to that because it was just so fascinating to me that the claim that, was somebody made that claim 30 years ago, and the claim was, if you're interested, is that this component of bacteria can elicit an immune response. But later it was discovered it was not that component because the medium was contaminated or whatever. It's some other component. So, but people still keep believing, even the experts keep believing that first claim. So I thought that was just fascinating. I wanted to bring it up.
That's crazy example, yeah.
I want to get to the resolution now of your mind and how you see the publishing process. So there is the side where you want to focus on quality. There is the side that you're being pushed into, let's call it the game of publishing a lot. Is there any kind of compromise that you see in this game, that you can have a sustainable pipeline that is still highly productive, but not necessarily a paper mill?
I would say that now I'm very lucky. I'm in a good team with a good, famous professor who doesn't need more papers. So he already achieved what he needed. And we had these discussions, and he says that I should think about what new I want to do. I should care about my career. So, of course, I should publish a little bit. Otherwise, my scientific career will die. But I'm not by any means now pushed to publish many papers. So if I want, I can stop a little bit. But still, what do you mean by stop? I still need to publish ideally 1-2 journal papers per year. Yeah, and that's not much pressure. So I have this ability now to focus on quality. I'm already at Imperial College London for 3 months now. I haven't published anything. So we are just discussing ideas. We're just gathering some data. And that's why I feel quite happy right now. So we'll see what will happen after 2 years of my contract. If I stay in academia, what will happen with the publishing pressure? But I guess your question was about the pipeline. So yeah, you have to have a pipeline of projects or publications. You have to think about your ideas. You know how they call it in academia, low-hanging fruit. Sometimes they say, let's do this paper first because it's a low-hanging fruit. We have all data, all models. Let's run it. Let's write a paper. And then we go to the next task, next goal. So I have some of these fruits now. I'm slowly working towards them. Plus, I'm collaborating now a little bit. I am, for example, supervising one Ph.D. student. Not supervising, sorry. Just helping a little bit with one paper. No, it's not called supervision. And yeah, there is one journal paper that my colleague is preparing for more than 6 months already. And I'm giving my comments. So it's, I'm not spending a lot of time. I'm just advising a little bit. And then maybe like this year or next year, that paper will be finally published. And I get +1 journal paper, which is great for my career. And this is how all of these scandals begin. You collaborate a little bit, you like it, then you collaborate with 100 people. So yeah, you have to have your own ideas and you have to focus on them. Plus, you should allocate a little bit of time to collaborate with others, give your comments, share your ideas, maybe help someone with coding, whatever, experiments. And then in the long run, this will help you to to get some number of publications. But again, we should draw a line at which point you should stop accepting invitations to other papers, at which point you should just focus on your novel ideas.
Andrey, I hope you continue collaborating just enough, so not with hundreds of people and publishing hundreds of papers. For the end, I would like to ask you, what is the favorite thing you feel towards science? What is your favorite part of doing science and engineering?
There are many good things. Let me tell you about one. Like, I think it's important to speak about this kind of passion or something. So for me, when I'm doing something, I'm not working in a lab. I'm coding everything. So I develop models. I try to apply existing models. And when I'm coding something for the new problem, and then I get some results, I like to develop beautiful figures. So I like to visualize these results. And I'm sitting there after many days of work, and I see that, this is a new figure. So no one else in the universe saw this image, saw these results. So I'm the first one who did this idea, developed this code. I think I'm like proud of myself in such moments. And maybe this is the passion, to go through something very complex, finally make your model working. You get beautiful results and you think, oh, that they are beautiful, and plus maybe they are useful because we see some paradox there, some strange behavior. Let's try to explain it. These small moments, they are driving me, I think. Other good things in academia, like traveling, talking to interesting people. I mean, sometimes you can talk to legendary scientists if they are not, again, involved in the publishing scandals. And sometimes all of this, when you talk to such smart people, like recently, I was in a conference sitting close to a mathematician in the UK. We had some free time, and I just asked some random questions about mathematics, just to see where the discussion goes. And the professor was like talking, explaining me some mathematical concepts. I didn't understand like half of the discussion, but it was so fascinating, just to sit next to the very clever person and getting this free mathematical lecture. So these kind of things you can get in academia. I think it's a unique experience.
Andrey, thank you so much for being on the show. I hope we talk again one day. Good luck.
Yeah, there are so many topics we can discuss. I think we touched only the tip of the iceberg.
That's what I love doing. I love leaving that for next time. So hope maybe next time on your show, if you have a podcast. If not, come back to me and let's talk, let's say in a year. Let's see if any of this has changed. Thank you so much, everybody. See you around.
Thank you.